All right. Hello, all. Basically, we're going to start, we're going to keep going with soup stocks and sauces. We've done stocks. You guys saw sauces. A lot of you got to make your own from scratch, mac and cheese, which is, you guys made a sauce there. So this week, we're going to continue on with soups because it's going to be kind of a weird week because I'm trying to catch up for cooking from the beginning of the year. So we're going to be doing talking about soups, but I want you guys to practice your uh, egg cooking and breakfast cooking. All right, so I'm gonna blow this up so you guys can see it. Doo doo doo. Okay, so with soups, there's several different types. Basically, I want to start out with you have clear soups and you have thick soups. So clear is going to be like your chicken and noodles, stuff that has like a clear broth. Your thickened ones are going to be your chowders and stuff like that. Um, I'm going to start regional so you guys can see the regional soups that we have around here that are, been around for years. And then we'll do global. Okay. I like to do the global thing with you guys so you can see what's coming from other countries. So clear soup, flavored stock soups, consommes, chicken and noodle, minestrone, French onion. Thick soups are your cream and puree soups. So bisques, chowders, cream of tomato, lentil, split pea. All right. And those are just some basic ones. To me, what soup is, people have made it like this the premier star of, entrees and stuff now. But traditionally, in my view, uh, soups were basically like you had these certain things in your pantry or you had these certain things in your fridge. You know, when they were, people had one way to cook, years ago where they had like, a stove or not even a stove, but like a wood fire and you had something to hold over there. You could feed a lot of people with soup. You could boil water and make like gruel, like throw all kinds of stuff in a pot and you have a meal to feed a lot of people. And then it kind of evolved into making it good. Okay, so chicken and noodles. I want to show you these because I think this is a classic chicken and noodle, and then this one is a little more fancy chicken and noodle where he makes a stock and everything here. So we'll start out with this one.
Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with chicken noodle soup. Remember that book, Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul, or something like that? This is that, only we skipped the whole book step. So all the delicious benefits with none of that annoying reading. And of course, I'm sure you remember a couple days ago we made our amazing roasted chicken broth. So it's off to finish the recipe, and we're going to do that with some mirepoix, diced carrots, celery, and onions. And once those are prepped, we're going to melt some butter in a soup pot, a couple tablespoons of whole butter. We have this over medium heat. When it melts and just thinks about turning golden brown, you're going to dump in your vegetables. You're going to throw in a pinch of salt. I'm also going to put in a small pinch of fresh thyme. That's the only herb I'm going to put in this. Give it a stir. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of that reserved chicken fat. So if you remember when we made the broth and we were skimming the fat from the top, I had you save a little bit, and we're going to use a little bit of that chicken fat to saute these vegetables. And like I said, I believe that's referred to as schmaltz. So yes, when they call a singer schmaltzy, they're basically saying your music's kind of chicken fatty. So we're going to give that a stir, and we're going to cook that in the butter and the schmaltz for about 5 minutes, 6 minutes or so until the onions kind of soften and turn translucent. At that point, go ahead and dump in your 2 quarts of chicken broth. So it can be just a regular unroasted chicken stock, but I really think the roasted broth just really works better here. We're going to crank the heat to the highest setting, and we want to bring this up to a rolling boil. All right, because it's time to cook the noodles. Speaking of which, here they are. I think you should use classic wide egg noodles. And not too much either. This is only 4 ounces of noodle. All right, you have to have the right proportion of noodle to broth to chicken. I'm going to break them up a little bit. I don't want them too long. I want them short enough to be kind of user-friendly and comforting, yet I still want them to be long enough to slap me in the cheek if I need it. So our noodles are measured out. Of course, we're going to check for salt before we add these noodles. I don't want to boil noodles in a bland broth. So taste it here, adjust for salt, then dump in the noodles, Give them a stir, leave it on high heat, and boil that for 5 minutes. All right, and that's going to cook those about 75% of the way. While we're waiting, that 5 minutes will give you the perfect opportunity to cut up your chicken that we reserved, that beautiful, moist, perfectly cooked chicken breast. So at this point, our noodles have been boiling for 5 minutes. We're going to dump in the chicken. We're going to give that a stir. And 5 minutes later, you will have the most delicious chicken noodle soup you've ever experienced in your life, and that's a guarantee. And if it's not, well, what do you want me to do? These videos are free. Okay, so 5 minutes later, the chicken is heated through, the noodles are cooked, and we are down to final seasoning. Maybe a little more salt, maybe some black pepper.
And what he's talking about too, guys, when you guys were making your pasta the other day, and I kept telling you, taste it, taste it, taste it. Season at the beginning, season in the middle, season at the end. Always taste this because it's going to keep developing flavors. So that's the first one. This one's slightly different, but I want you guys to see it. He uses a couple different more. I think this one he uses a couple extra vegetables.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Basics with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at one of the most elemental elements of cookery, stock. If you haven't made homemade stock yourself, you cannot imagine the difference between it and the store-bought version. And that difference shines in chicken noodle soup, something that you thought you knew until you made it completely from scratch yourself. Let's get down to basics. Okay, so the first and most important takeaway from this episode is how to make a good stock. Homemade stock is one of the most versatile and important tools that you can have in your kitchen, and you should always keep some on hand. Anything you have left over, freeze it. You won't be sorry.
Real quick, do you guys see how he peeled that? You see how much faster it'd be if he just used both sides of the peeler.
Formula is pretty simple. A few aromatic vegetables like carrots and celery, no need to break these down into two small pieces. Next up, we need something oniony. I'm going with leek this time around, but you can just use white or Spanish onion, scallions, anything with a nice mild oniony flavor. I'm also going to add some root vegetables here, starting with a large parsnip.
Watch the watch the peeling again. Hold on, I'm going to go back to where he was at.
Hey, what's up, guys? But you can just use white or Spanish onion, scallions, anything with a nice mild oniony flavor. I'm also going to add some
not peeling it right.
A large parsnip. This is going to add some peppery bite. Just like the carrot, we're simply peeling and cutting into a few pieces. I'm also going to add a nice turnip. This is going to add to the sort of winter vegetable nature of this stock, but you can omit or add as you like. There's a lot of room for experimentation here, but if you follow these steps exactly, you will end up with a delicious, sippable chicken stock and or the best chicken noodle soup you will ever have in your life. One absolute must is an entire head of garlic cut right down the center to expose all the cloves. No need to peel it, just slice and go. And because you can't really have too oniony of a stock, I'm also going to add a large Spanish onion. I'm just peeling and cutting into quarters, keeping the pieces whole. Now it's time to deal with the meat side of our stock, and if you still have some of your reserved chicken spines from previous episodes or previous chicken related excursions, we're going to cut these into 1 or 2 inch lengths. This is going to better expose all that good stuff inside the bones. Now if chicken spines or carcasses are unavailable, a great option is chicken wings. They're inexpensive and full of cartilage and connective tissue, which is exactly what we want in our stock. Now I'm adding the last few drops from a bottle of good neutral flavored oil like vegetable or canola, bringing to a shimmer over high heat and then beginning to brown our chicken pieces. This is optional. If you want a lighter colored stock, skip this step, but if you
So what I did, which you guys will try in your chicken and noodles next week, instead of sauteing all the bones, because I had 40 plus pounds rather than his 2, I laid these on a sheet tray and roasted them until they had a nice golden color. And the best part about that is too, it renders out the fat. So when you're making stock, say if you boil a whole chicken, there's a lot of fat on there and it's going to cover the whole top of your chicken stock. When you roast your bones first, it renders out and cooks that fat. So now it becomes liquid and it's like it's like the bacon grease in a pan. You can pour out all that extra fat because you really don't want that in the stock. So you're gonna have to take it out later anyway. Um, it just saves you a step. It's a little easier to clean up.
If you want a nice, dark, more richly flavored stock, which I prefer, at least in the case of chicken noodle soup, go ahead and brown all of your chicken pieces, or at least your oven until everything is good and browned. There's also no need to make this.
So he's just making the stock now. He's browning the bones, adding all these vegetables. I'm going to skip to the soup part.
Scum in there will make the stock more cloudy. We're letting that go for a bare minimum of 4 hours and up to 12, during which time I'm going to start prepping my vegetables for the chicken noodle soup. I've got carrots, celery, a parsnip that I'm going to chop very finely because it doesn't cook down as quickly as carrots or celery, maybe half a turnip that I'm similarly going to cut into planks and into tiny bite-sized pieces, mainly just because I want the suggestion of turnip. I don't want big old chunks. The carrots, celery, noodles, and chicken are the stars of the show here. Everyone else is just a backup singer, but together they will form a beautiful symphony. I don't know. I'm not so great with metaphors. You'll notice I'm setting the onion aside. You'll see why later. For now, it's time to drain our stock. Ideally, do this through a cheesecloth if you can to catch all the little particles, but in a pinch, a regular strainer works just fine. Let this guy drain for a good long while. You want to make sure you get every single drop. This stuff is liquid gold. Now it's time to set this aside and keep it warm while we get our soup started. Start by heating some olive oil or other little bit more flavorful oil over medium-high heat until shimmering, and adding the onion first. This is because while I want the other vegetables to retain some of their structure and vegetableness, I want to make sure that the onions are really soft and integrated into the soup. So after they have softened up a bit, we're going to add the rest that pushes this soup from goodness to greatness: grated ginger and lemongrass. You're not even going to be able to remember what canned chicken noodle soup tastes like after you taste this stuff. So once we get this guy up to a rolling boil, we're going to add our chicken thighs, boneless and skinless. We want these guys to cook fast. We don't want the extra fat that comes with skin, and we want dark meat. Dark meat shredded in chicken noodle soup is so categorically better.
So a lot of people want to use chicken breast like he did in the first video. It's not a bad thing. We'll probably do that. This guy on the right, well, the one we're watching now, he's cooking his probably a lot longer to get to the point where a chicken thigh is going to shred. The guy on the left is doing classic chicken noodle soup. Traditionally, when you make, traditionally soups are from leftovers, okay? The guy on the right is going all out with making the soup like the star of the show. But if you think about it, like Thanksgiving, you'll make turkey and like turkey a la king and turkey and noodles and stuff like that because you have all this leftover stuff. That's what soup is. It was mainly leftovers, okay? And then that's the compare and contrast here. Sorry, my bubbly water is making me burp. This is the compare and contrast here. My view of soup is, I clean out my fridge. I have this, and this. I'm going to make soup with it. And that's what restaurant soup is. No lie. I mean, that's what we used to make soup with. Was it became a star, item, entree, but it started as, we have this party where we had all this stuff left over. I have a bunch of vegetables. Let's saute all this stuff, add some stock to it, and then make this a starter. Add this to our list of items on the menu. So that's what the difference is here, but we'll watch it.
Better than white meat. White meat becomes dry, it gets chewy, it is not a good choice for chicken noodle soup. There's still some fat in these thighs, so we're going to skim that off as it rises to the surface. And after 15 to 20 minutes of a rolling boil, our chicken thighs will be ready for extraction. If they're undercooked, it doesn't really matter because we're going to be adding them back to the soup and they'll finish cooking, but they're easier to shred if they're fully cooked. Using a pair of small forks, your vegetables are starting to get too soft. This is personal preference. And I want a little bit of fresh crunch in this soup, so I'm going to add some minced scallions. Letting these cook for no more than a minute because I just want them to get to know each other in the bowls. Calm down, I'm getting to that. To prevent mushy noodles in your leftover soup, always store the soup noodleless and cook the noodles in the soup as you serve it. So I am ladling out the amount that I want to serve into a separate pot and adding some egg noodles or whatever kind of pasta you want. But I prefer.
So we're not going to watch the whole one, but do you see how much more effort this guy's putting into the soup, which is great. But the one on the left is what we're going to make, because that's traditional chicken and noodles. Okay, the guy on the right, he's doing good with it. I'm sure it's delicious, but this one over here is, this guy had this chicken, he cooked it. He's probably going to make 5 different meals with one chicken. So that's basically what the chicken and noodle is. Okay, minestrone, we're going to get into this probably when we do international. This is actually a typical Italian style soup, but there's so many American versions of this now. But this is what I really want you guys to see is gumbo and jambalaya, because these are made southern, Louisiana style. They're a mixture of the Creole people and French people who came down, who basically got kicked out of Canada. They ended up in New Orleans. Africans, slaves that were here and used, learned to use what we had around here and created really good dishes with it, with all the product. So that's what these two are. Jambalaya, a lot of people consider this a regular just entree. I threw it in the soups category just because the way it's cooked. So let's watch these, and then we'll complete our night, our day. And then, okay, let's do this one.
What's good, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Smoking and Grilling. And today we're doing a seafood gumbo, and we're doing it with me, AB. Hey, listen, this is like super simple. You know what I mean? Hey, you know what? I'm not even gonna say it's super simple. What I'm gonna do is we finna take the mystery out for those of you guys that don't know just how easy it is to make, a seafood gumbo, right? You know what? It really is all in the root. Listen, that's what we're gonna spend our time with in this video. I'm getting ready to show it to you so you guys can see it, and I'm gonna walk you guys through that process. Listen, it's just time. That's all it is. The rest of the ingredients cook like any other dish that I've made. But listen, that's what's so scary about seafood gumbo, or just the word gumbo, period. So with that being said, I'm not gonna over talk it, because listen, we're gonna talk in this video, and we finna make it happen, y'all. Let's get it. Okay, here we go. These are all the ingredients, lined out. Don't let this intimidate you. You know what I mean? It's a few ingredients, sure, but it's a lot of just dump and go, right? So now I'm gonna go ahead and just start off by showing you guys, the shrimp. These are the shrimp, as you can see, already peeled, deveined them, and look at the size. You can see by the size of my hand, and this right here, you can just see how big they are, right? So this is about 3 pounds. Now I took the shells, because you guys know I'm saving the shells, right? We're gonna use the shells that came from that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make we're gonna use this, and we're gonna cook this down to get that seafood taste, right? So you wanna save these also. So whatever you peel, you just wanna save your shells. Now, next thing here, we got 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Then we got a half a cup. This is the half a cup of canola oil. You guys can use vegetable oil, whatever oil you like to use. I'm gonna use canola on this one. Then of course, we got both of these bell peppers, right? Obviously we got a yellow and we got a green. And then we're gonna dice these, and we're gonna dice them, so that they're a little bit on the fine side. Here's everybody's favorite. Look, the W sauce. And listen, we saying, right? We making a gumbo, right? So check it out. You guys should have known automatically I'm gonna have that Creole kick. And you guys can use whatever type of Creole or Cajun seasoning you like, but this is my choice right here. And don't forget, as you see on the screen, I put a discount right there. That's a 10% discount if you use the code AB10. You guys got to get that. You see that I cook with it a lot, and I put it on a lot of things. It doesn't just have to be seafood, like nothing like that. You can put it on, listen, I mix it in my chicken, everything. Here, we got a half a cup of butter. This is salted butter. Minced garlic. Thyme. And then here we got bay leaves. As you can see, we got 3 bay leaves. Now we got celery. I'm just gonna cut them down the middle, and then we're gonna chop these. We wanna get about a cup of this. Here we got green onions. And then we got parsley. Now this is that curly parsley. You know, either parsley you guys have at your local grocery store, that'll work just fine. You want to get yourself about at least a quarter cut. So I'll start with this and measure it and make sure I got enough. And then right here, I got 12 ounces of beer. Listen, you guys can use just about any type of beer that you would like. You know, I just happened to go by and pick up this Sam Adams.
You guys can't use beer. This is just a recipe. Ah.
With butter. This is salted butter. Now we go by and pick up this Sam Adams. You know, this is that Boston Lager. That's what I'm gonna use today. Now here you'll see I got some king crab. You know, it's up to you guys. Look at how big this is. Just by looking at my hand, you can see the size, right? Hey, this is gonna make for some good meat right here. You really wanna see something big? Look at this claw. I know you guys probably already know, you know, this king crab is expensive. You know what I mean? This right here, I don't even wanna say how much it was, but that's what it is. Listen, it's for just me. You know what I mean? So this is me. And then if you're serving it, you guys can just serve it with some snow crab legs. That's just right here, come in these close clusters. And then we'll add these, we'll get these rinsed off, cleaned up, and we'll add this to it at the end, right? Okay, as I was putting up the seafood, because you want to keep that refrigerated, right? You know, so I can prep my veggies. I went in there and then I remember, look, this is what's missing. You know what? You can't say this without having no, you know, some kind of andouille sausage. Check this out. This is that chicken andouille sausage. Hey, I got like maybe, I don't know, somewhere right around 1.5 pounds. I just took out a bunch of links and we're going to cut these up and we're going to slice them. But listen, I'll tell you this, if you ask me, in my opinion, this is a must. And for all you guys that don't eat, you know, like pork, this chicken andouille sausage, this is the way to go. Okay, here you just seeing me, you know, going ahead, just starting off to show you guys how I prep, you know, my veggies. So you can see, listen, I cut my celery down the middle, right? On medium high. What I'm gonna do is, now you know we had a 1/2 cup of butter. What I did was just cut it in half. We're gonna start with a 1/4 cup of butter first. You just wanna melt that down. Once this melts, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, you know, 64 ounces, right? So I'm gonna add 2 of these of the chicken simmer for, let's just say about 15 minutes. We'll go from there. Look, 64, you know, ounces of, then get yourself like a, you know, wooden spoon. This works better.
All right, so what he's doing, I want you guys to see this. So the other soups, we made stock. What he's doing here is he's taking a chicken stock, but he's going to saute his shrimp shells, which, surprise, surprise, I'm going to buy, or actually Chef Narrett has already purchased shrimp so we can make a nice either jambalaya or gumbo. I haven't figured out which one I want to do yet. But the flavor is coming from those shells. It's like the bones of the seafood right there, of the shellfish. So what I would have done too, which I don't know if he does in this, I would have taken the meat out of those crab legs and thrown those crab shells in there too, and then added the stock like he's going to do in a couple minutes.
Best, man. It protects all of your pots, things like that. Completely melted.
So what he did, he
now you want to go ahead and start adding your chicken broth.
Add chicken broth.
Now we add in 15 minutes. We'll go from there. Look, you can see that right there. That's what you should be looking for right there. That's nice. So I'll go ahead and put the top on. I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes. I'm just showing you this right now. I'm not gonna bore you guys, but you guys got the picture. You can do it right here is what's gonna give us real flavor.
Ah, I went back. Dang it. Sorry, I know it keeps doing this.
This is the Dutch oven, right? I still got that, you guys, but you guys got the picture. You can do it however you want to. You can cut them in quarters, you know what I mean, halves, half circles, or whatever. Now, as you can see, these are already done, right? But what I want to do is I want to show you. Let me see if I can get this up in the camera to focus on that. You see the flavor, see all of the seasons inside of this? And again, this is so I'm gonna go ahead and start putting some heat into this. And I got it on like a medium high heat. What we want to do is take our sausage that we just, you know, slice. We're gonna drop it in here like that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna brown it.
Ah, drives me nuts.
Sausage that we just, you know, slice. We're gonna drop it in here like that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna brown it. So once it comes up, it start getting, you know, hot.
All right, so what he's doing, I'm just gonna kind of skip through here so you guys can see. So he's gonna brown the sausage. Take that out, right? You want to save that fat, okay? Add your butter. He's gonna make his roux in here. So this is your fat, which is the sausage fat, butter, oil. See that fawn down there? That's the good stuff. That's the flavor. Add your flour. And what gumbo traditionally is you cook this to make your roux for a long time. Like it's that's where a lot of the color comes from, is the darkness of that roux. Which the roux, we're going to make that pretty soon, so you guys can make it. We're going to make some different soups. But the roux is basically flour and fat cooked together. Okay. And then with gumbo, the process that gives it its color, see how dark this is getting? Yeah, that the more you cook it, the darker your soup's going to be as well. But that's what gives gumbo its flavor, and what makes it gumbo. It's the flour and the fat, and it gets to that. I don't know many things that use a dark roux. I've heard people cook this roux for hours, but I don't know how wonderful that tastes. But anywho, that's what gives, if you ever had a traditional gumbo where it has that real dark color to it, it's because the roux is so dark. And then the main ingredient of this, which is in his little secret spice mix, is called gumbo filet powder, which is a wild sassafras grass that they dry out and grind up. It's just a local grass that's probably from the swamp area down there. And like you see, he's making his roux. He's going to go ahead and saute everything in there, cook it in, and then that's driving me nuts when it does that. Cook it in. And then from here, you're just going to slowly start adding stuff. And what the roux does, it's going to thicken this a lot. So he's got his good seafood stock that he already made, vegetables. Let me play this. Vegetables, seasonings, and then he's going to go through here, simmer this. And then the last thing he's probably going to do is add his seafood. Okay, put the shrimp in, or put the chicken sausage in, put everything else you want. The last thing is going to be is your shrimp, and then he's going to garnish it. I believe he's going to put in the crab legs. So there's king crab legs, and then the snow crab. So you see the king crab is these thicker bones, pretty much. They're exoskeleton. That'll go in before, and then the last thing will be your snow crab, because these are a lot thinner. So that's pretty much it. I wanted you guys to see that because, and that, look at that, it's a really nice finished dish with the rice in the middle. But if you've never had gumbo, but you see how dark that is, that's because of that roux. We'll get into roux, especially once we start, talking more about soups, because you guys will make this. The first soup you guys will make is a chicken and noodles. The second one, we'll make something with the roux, so you have to learn that portion. All right, so we're going to stop there. We'll continue with jambalaya, and then, as you see, New England clam chowder. Then we'll get into minestrones, and then we'll do the global soups. With minestrone is actually a global soup, but it's so popular around here, we might as well just talk about it now. All right, that's what I have for you guys. There'll be 4 questions, and we'll continue on tomorrow.